Hello? Welcome to the studio room. I would like your input as to which way I should rearrange or I should arrange my studio space. It's a small room, but the problem that I have is essentially the sum of how the window and the closet and the door is laid out. So my current layout that I'm still kind of figuring out is my easel on this wall, which gives me this whole space down through here to move around and to put my camera and even the lights if I want to move the lights. I'd like to be able to just have my lights in a space and not have to move them around. And then on the other side of you guys, by the window, is my desk, which I would eventually like to live stream from. And then there's my closet, which the closet takes up an entire wall space, and I need to be able to access the majority of the closet, so I can't really put too much in front of it. The other layout that you guys have seen is my computer desk was diagonal on this wall over here, and then my easel was next to me in this kind of corner over here. And you guys have seen this in my other videos where I like talk right here and my easel's right there. And I'll like set up the camera right here and you can see me working right here. But I also occasionally would put the camera, over here at the closet to face the easel this way, so my hand wasn't getting in the way, my hand and my arm, of being able to see the marks I was making on the easel or the canvas. Problem is, I don't have really any space to move around, so I'm really limited. Whereas here, like I said, I got all this space. And I kind of like the look of that. Also, for reference, I'm going to be painting this wall and this wall black, and then this wall and the tiny bit of this wall some sort of dark tealish, blue tealish color, which looks really good with my artwork. Anyway, so I want to know what you guys think. The main components to arranging would be where to put the easel, where to put the desk, my two absurdly large lights, and then leaving space for my camera and tripod. I went to Quality Art and picked up a few things. I needed a little bit more vine charcoal, so I just kind of grabbed that while I was there. But I have a couple things that I want to try. So in a previous video, I had somebody ask me if I've used this before, and I have not. I also don't know if I'm saying it right. I want to say Conte, but I think it's Conti. Anyway, so I've got some Conti. Let me know how to say it. I got brown and white and a nice earth tone, which is, the door, which is the typical Conti colors. I picked up a birch wood panel because I want to put some clear gesso down and then put charcoal on that so you can still see the wood grain. See how that looks. I don't know how well the charcoal is going to play on the clear gesso that I have. I don't know if it's going to lift very well. I'm sure it'll stick, but I don't know if it's going to lift very well. So that will be an experiment we do today, and maybe I'll put some Conti on it as well. I don't know, an all-in-one experiment perhaps. That's today's experiment. And this winter, maybe in January or something, I am going to be painting this wall. At least, at a minimum, this wall. Well, I mean, if I paint this wall, then I'm going to paint the little tiny bit around the closet. That's going to happen. It was just delayed, and then life happens. And I was prepping, I took down the pictures, and I was going to start prepping the wall, and then more life happened, which is why there's no art up. It's going to get done. I swear it's going to get done. Hello? Blast camera from the past. Testing. I could totally use this camera as like a different angle. Wow. And this camera takes regular AA batteries too. It's tripping me out. We could use this as like, you know, a different POV. Ooh, we could use this as Cedric's POV. Why am I so like, wee about this camera? Whoa. Ta-da! Unfortunately, the charcoal didn't lift very well from the clear gesso. I might have to look into different avenues in regards to a clear base though, because I liked the look. And then I didn't use much of the Conti. I didn't use much of the Conti here. I just wanted to get kind of a feel for it a little bit. I did like the little added touches of color, but I feel like I would have been more brave with it if the dry media would have been lifting better. It was a good experiment though. I did also notice that this session was a lot more dusty than usual, and I think it's because I tried to dust on charcoal with a cotton ball, which is something that I'd stopped doing in the beginning because it was just producing more dust, and I was getting more like dust in my nose and stuff, which I'm not the biggest fan of. So I think going forward I will continue to not really use charcoal dust. I feel like everything I've been doing lately has been an experiment. I hope that's not getting too boring. But alas, we got to keep experimenting until I figure out what I really like. The truth is, artists often will cover old artworks over and over and over again, especially if they don't really like them. And I know I was gonna try to do something to fix this, and there's elements of this that I really like, but I think I'm gonna put gesso over this. This was the jackalope woman, which no longer exists. Where is my paintbrushes with the paint? Hold on. Hold a moment. The truth is, I'm like, wait, no, don't do it. I have decided. I'm going to take some pictures, and then if I want to recreate it later, I can recreate it later. As it stands right now, since I messed it up, we are going to paint over it. Okay, the decision was made to mess around with the painting with acrylic paint. That way, if I don't like what I did, I can put gesso and primer over it and do charcoal. Because if I did oil paint, I wouldn't really be able to do that. This will be a test. Let's give this a shot. Okay, I'll put on some classical music, and now I'm just gonna get right into this. My favorite way to paint with acrylics is scumbling. I also have a spray bottle to keep the paints wet on my palette. Back when I used to paint with acrylics, I do a bunch of layers and I got really good at like blending them as well. But one of my problems was I was over blending and not being loose enough. And then I wasn't paying enough attention, I think anyway, to my values. And my paintings, to me, always looked really flat. It makes me wonder if I can do this and keep it loose. Loosey-goosey, loosey-goosey. Where it gets to a point where I'm like, oh, it looks kind of cool. Now I will be fucking it up. I would actually leave this all gray. My problem is this line that I've made through here. Like, how do I fix that? Part of me really likes that it's messy and undone looking, but also part of me is like, would people look at that and be like, wow, what a beautiful finished piece of artwork? Messy and undone? Messy and undone. I swear at some point I'm gonna have a process figured out for the most part. That's like my go-to beginning to end process. I have my beginning to end process if it's just the charcoal, but I need more. So maybe going forward I might mess with that a little bit more, and maybe once I get more into that I will work with the oil paints. The problem with oil paints is I tend to get headaches with those. They bother me. But the thing I don't like about acrylics is it's totally permanent. So if I didn't like what I did, it's stuck there. Though you can paint over it easily. Yeah, so I'm going to edit. I don't know if I'll come back in here for Saturday or not. It depends on what happens. If I don't see you again, thank you guys for watching my random shenanigans in the studio this week. And I will see you next time. Bye.